All right, guys, good morning. Let's continue with our project on REST API. The first, let's configure, right, couple of things in our work environment here. So this is the folder 2-REST API. So how we initialize, right, our project? Because I don't have anything here, and I'm going to write the Node.js, right? Node.js application. So how I can initialize? npm init-y, right? So let me put side by side, and then it will be easy for me to look at the content. Okay. So, like just create the project folders, then change directly to that folder. That is what I have done here. I open that folder in my Visual Studio, right? I'm going to initialize my project npm init-y, right? So that is what I'm going to do. So npm init-y. Any Node.js project, when you start, this is the first thing you will do, right? Unless, that is something like a React. So React, Next.js, the library already come with all this, like folder structure creation, right? Everything is built inside there. So you just run one React, like install React, whatever code, right? Install that one, and it will be taking care of all these things, like adding TypeScript and all that, right? So we're gonna install TypeScript. Basically, we have TypeScript already, right? So we can just initialize that. So how we can do that? I mean, I have TypeScript installed, so I will just do, npm, right? Oh, sorry, npx. Just start TypeScript. That is the one. TypeScript dash init. Okay, so it will give me the config for the TypeScript. What is that? Okay, spelling mistake, right? In it. So you can see I get the type config. Okay, good. So that I can write the TypeScript code inside this project, right? The next thing we can install is Node.mon. So remember, yesterday, right, when we learning TypeScript, I have to do, like I have to compile the tsc-b. Once I write one code or something, right, I have to compile all the time. But in React or Next.js, we don't compile, right? When you run the code, system will compile automatically. So in our project, to achieve similar kind of goal, right, there is one package called tsnode. Okay, once we install this, right, we don't have to worry about compiling our code. It will take care of that. Okay, so let's install that, and also the types for that, right? So these are the two things we can install. So let's do it. Npm install ts-node, right? Simple. It's just a library, just install it, right? You don't have to do anything. In our basic TypeScript project, right, it will help to run our, or basically compile our code to JavaScript. We still need to install the types for that, right? So let's do that. So we, like npm install. If that is type, maybe depend, just add this, right? Development environment only. And you can install that, or just run it without D, right? But let's add the development environment. That's better. Fine. So if you look at our package JSON, what you see now in the development environment, we added types for node. We have ts-node installed already, right? Okay, we need a Node.mon also, right? So that we can run the server continuously. Okay, so npm install Node.mon. Okay, Node.mon, right? Fine. So the main here is index.js. Let's change that to server.js, right? Server.js is okay. Then We can change to type, right? I think type will be module. Okay, let's change that so that we can use import and all that. Good. So this is the basic setup of our project. We have installed TypeScript already and the node, right? Or let's call it, yeah, I mean, we just initialize the node project. Okay, done. Now we can configure the ESLint also. You want to have ESLint configured in your project, we can do that. Just run this, right? This command. Okay, so it will ask a couple of questions, right? So it says, how will you like to use ESLint to check syntax and find problem, right? Yes. So enter that. And JavaScript module import export. Yes, because we have just changed here, right? Type to module. Yes, let's click that. And then React views, none of this, right? We are not using React or all that, so none of these. Does your project use TypeScript? Yes. And so does your code run in the browser or node, right? So we can tick both. I think we can run in browser also. So let's go down, and I think we can press space, right, to check. Okay, and enter. So will you like to install them now? All these things for the ESLint, TypeScript, checking for ESLint and all that, right? Yes. npm, we are using npm package to install all that, right? Yes. And it will install that package. Okay, so there will be some issue with the I see the conflict now, right? Yeah, conflicting something like a, I hope it will be okay, right? But I see some warning, could not resolve dependency ESLint, this one, or type from TypeScript, this, right? So there is conflict. Okay, because sometimes ESLint one version will not support the other TypeScript ESLint, something like that, right? So it's saying conflicting peer dependency, this one. So what is the fix now? Okay, let's leave it. If that is resolved, something is called resolve overriding peer dependency, right? So I hope it is resolved automatically. If not, we have to figure out the solution for that. So that's how you install the what you call that, ESLint, right? Next, we can install, or basically you guys already have installed, right, ESLint in your extension, correct? So just install that one, and also prettier, right? Prettier code formatter. Okay, install that. And once that is done, what we can do is like just create something like this, right? I mean, I'm just adding one thing, like not many for prettier, but in the future you will see, right, in the project, something like prettier.json file. Okay, so you can create something here, prettier, control V. I want to copy that. So now you can define some setting for prettier, right? For example, take this one. Okay, how much tab width our project can consider, right? So let's say 2 tab width. Okay, this is the tab width 2, right? So in any code, for example, let's create one file now, server serv server.ts, right, like that. For example, add something, does not matter, console.log, right? And this is test. So if you have, like, in your code maybe many tab, right, and when you save it, it will adjust automatically all your code arrangement, right, will be done automatically on the save. Okay, so just make sure you have all that, right? Also, it says also in your setting, make sure to check the format on save box in VS Editor, right? Check that one. So when you go to the setting here, in the file preference setting, right? Uh, format default formatter is now code prettier. You have to, select that one, and then format and save. Make sure you check this button, okay? So that every time you save, your code will be formatted automatically. Fine. So we're good to go now, right? We understand all this. Now we're gonna run our server. Okay, let's run that. How you gonna run that? We have the node1 already. Node1 is running, right? So in the package JSON, somewhere here, I can delete this. We don't need that. In the script, okay, you can say development dev command. So npm run dev, right? In that situation, please run called node1 and then server.ts, right? .ts file, okay? Just do that. So when we come here and I will say npm run dev, our node1 will run, right? So it says server server.ts, right? server server.ts. Let's see. Type error unknown file extension.ts. Why is that? Ts, okay. Why is giving error? Let's put something here, right? Also dot log. This is server.ts, okay. Something, okay, save. So now it's saying unknown file ts, for example, server.ts, right? Unknown file, my God. Server.ts, right? Oh, maybe I cannot put ts, okay? I have to add, because ts never run, we know that, right? Ts never run. So here I must put server.js, right? So let's change something, save. Now what is the error? Waiting for file to change. So it's saying oh, it did not change, right? Server.js. Let me close that. I need to, that is okay. That's one I don't have to do anything, right? That is fine. I have config that I don't have to do anything. Now what will be the error? So we installed this, right? ts.node we have installed the type. Let me see. We have TypeScript here. It did not look like, okay, let me just install this also, right? It should work. We have in the global. So Control C and run here. Okay, because of the conflict now, right, I'm getting error there. So guys, I know that will be problematic. Okay, let me pause for a second. Yeah, so start recording again. So this is the basic things, right? Basic things to just set up your project folder. Okay, I mean, normally what you will be doing right in the future is you can install the Next.js project. There you don't have to do most of the thing. Okay, most of the thing is already done by the library, right? React also, most of the thing is done. Only time when you're creating Express backend server, right? Then you have to set up something manually, what we have just done here. Okay, so you get idea, right? So sometimes when you're watching any video written by like any API by any person, right, in the YouTube, maybe you not find all these things there. Maybe you will find, right? So in that case, you know what to do. Okay, fine. Let's continue. Now the real stuff. We're gonna install the Express, Mongoose, and all that, right? .env. So this is the MongoDB for our database. .env to handle the environment variables, and Express is the library to create server. So let's do that. What I will do, I will just stop my server and then continue. Okay, so just install that npm install Express, Mongoose, and .env. You can do that. So all this library, right, has their type checking also. So always remember, when we are using TypeScript for any extension or any library or any package, you have to install their type. So for example, for Express, you have to do npm install -d @type/express. So that's how you install the type, right, for Express. So maybe because I was testing earlier that I think Express already comes with their type. So it did not say anything, right? Fine, it's added. That is okay. For .env also you can do the same thing. So we need types. Remember, when you deal with the data TypeScript, you must need type for almost all kind of data, right? And for Mongoose also you can do the same. npm install -d types Mongoose, right? Save --save dev, or you can leave it as Mongoose, up to Mongoose only, that will be fine. So we're done with the type setting up our all the libraries and their types, right? For Express, Mongoose, and .env, that is the three things we install right now. Now let's test, right? Simple. This is our server. Okay, so in server I'm just gonna import Express, right, from Express, correct? I can do that. I don't know why it's giving error, right? So it's saying it's value never used. Fine. Yeah, okay. So const app equal to Express, and that is a function we run. So now app is the declared, right? It's the object. Now you can have app.listen, right? The property, or listen is the function inside the app object, right? And then you can say port, maybe add the port here, 3000 port, and then the callback function, right, like that. Okay, and console log. Let's call it server is running in port 3000, right? Save, and now test if this is okay, right? Let's see. So npm run development dev, and you need to, okay, see that server is running in port 3000, right? If I go back here and I will say localhost 3000, it says you are trying to access you are trying to get something, right? But you don't have route for that. You don't have the route, right? Route means you don't have the functionality for that. So we can go here and I can just, let's call it app.get, right? And the route is what? The route is this. That's the localhost 3000. That's my server running on. And here we can call the controller function or callback function, right? There will be request, response, and maybe you have next also, right? So response, just send the response now, right? Send something. I'll just send the object and call it name is there, right? Like save. And if I refresh this route again, see, I just get access to this object, right? What I'm sending from here. Fine. So everything working now, right? But why we are doing all this here? I mean, why we are, this project, the reason for this project is to go in details, like proper structure, right? So what I'm going to do is next, just create the like organization folder called source, right? Source folder. And we have server here already. Inside the source, I will maybe add app.ps file. That app will be imported to server here, right? Later. So fine. So let's see what is the next step. We have .env also. We're going to use that .env later, right? Because remember what we have done, this port number, what we use, we want to store in a, we don't want to just put 3000 there, right? Because in the production, you don't go and change these things. This kind of port or anything, right? You change from your env variable, environment variable, right? So let's create one .env. You can do that, right? .env, yeah, that's fine. So here you can say port port port. Maybe let's call it 5000, right? Something like that. So we're gonna access this port, okay? This value, right, from here. So you're gonna have more variables later, right? Like you're gonna have the variables for our database connection string and all that, okay? So it's better to store all the variables in the env file. But let's say we have right now port and we're gonna use that. So we gonna configure, right? Because you're gonna have many variables, how you properly handle that variables, right, from here. So for that, we're gonna create, let's create a folder called config, like that. And inside we're gonna have maybe config.ts file, right? And we're gonna start writing some code, okay? So we're gonna access this port inside the config, right? And once you have in the config, this will be exposed to all over the project, okay? So let's say import like config. You can import config like this, right, from .env. You can do that, and then you run that config, right? Simply run that config. Done. That is all you have to do. But we gonna now handle our, once you run this, right, config, now we can access this env variable, okay? Here, how we can do that? But we gonna group that in an object. Let's do that. So we can give it different name, right? Like config, maybe value, right? Value like that, equal to object. And the first one is, let's give the name, because I'm creating object now, right? All my variable from here I will store in this object, okay? So the process.env dot port, right, like that. Simple. And then I'm gonna export now, right? So export const. Basically we can just export config, right? But config, yeah, so that is the same variable name, right? Config, let's change a little bit, or we can just export config value, not value, but let's call it config config file, right? Let's call it config file equal to, see, we're gonna freeze that, right? We're gonna freeze this object so that no one will be able to modify or do anything, right? Dot freeze, and you just part config value there. I mean, basically you are exporting this value, this object, after freezing, and that will be exported as this file name, because, but this is just a variable, right? This is a simple variable. Inside that variable we store this object. Just understand like that, very simple. Now next time we just come and add other properties here, right? Like database URL and all that, right? Anything you need, you just stored here now. Good. Once we have this, right? Once we have this config, we can use this anywhere now. So let's go back to our server, right, and try to use that. What we can do now, right? Let's see, inside the app, yes, I mean, even here you can use it, right? Let's try, and then we're going to modify more later, right? Let's go back and import. Is that default export? What is that? Just export, right? So in that case, import config file, right? Like that, because this is the name export, so you have to put in the curly bracket, right? And then remember, this is the port here, so config file dot port. See now, right? Save, and let's run. It's running, so let's see. We can access now here. Okay, so let me delete that, and I will go back here, and I will say the port is basically config file dot port, right? Like that. Save, and look at here. See, I can access that port from here. See, so any variable, right, you're gonna have in this one, you have access to all over the project now, right? So we don't have to, like, if you need this port anywhere, right, you don't have to go and do manually. Once you have here and you configure these things, right, you have access and you can use it, just calling this file. So that is what we learned, right? Basically how you can add .env files and export the object, right, with all the environment variables inside. Because just simply think like this, don't get confused, right? This is nothing but the variable which has this object, so that this variable is object, so object dot port, and the value will be coming from the environment variable in this way. Because this config function, right, when you execute that one, the job of this library, this is .env library, right? Job of this config is to map everything inside here. So how you map that? By once you execute this file, right, or this function, then you have the process.env, process object.env, and then whatever inside that env, right? Like right now only one port, you can get that. Okay, you can easily get that here, that port, right? So anything inside env you have access in the same format, process.env dot whatever, right? A database URL string or something like that, or any other variables, and that is now this whole thing is stored in the as this file, right? So now I can just call that file and use it. So that is done, right? But we can improve this code now. We're gonna create our server, right, in this file here. Let's create a server now inside this app. So in the root of the server, right? Okay, I think, let me see, let me check. So we don't server here. When we can leave it like this, or the best thing to do is write a function, right? And then use that one. Okay, so let's do that. I'm gonna delete this, right? And then we're gonna say const start server, right? Same thing, but just putting inside the function now, right? Like that, start server. So let first you want to have a port, right? That is coming from config file.port. If you don't find that port, then please run 3000, maybe right like that. The port number 3002. Okay. In case if you don't find this port, then just run this, right? So that's why we added extra port here. Fine. So we get this done. Now we're gonna call our app.listen, what we had before, right? Same thing. So first thing, it will take a port. That is port, right? Comma. And the second thing will be callback function. Exactly what we did earlier, right? So, something, just copy that and put it here. Clear? So let's see what is complete. Why is complaining? Port is never reassigned, right? Use const. Okay. Fine. After that, you can start server, right? So we just group this in this one function and then run the function. Before, we did app.listen outside, right? So listen function was running automatically outside in the global, but now we put inside the function and you just have to run the function in the global. So when this file is called, first thing what's gonna happen, right? This function will run. So that is all we have in this, right? Yeah. So this routes and all that we're gonna write in our. Okay, let's go back, right? Inside our app ts here, okay? So we don't have app here. So what you have to do is import express from express, right? And then const app equal to express function execution. Now we have this, right? Fine. So what we can do, we have to export that now. Connection string from the MongoDB. No. Let's see. Yeah, so let's export, right? Export default app, right? Fine. So now we have to import that inside here. We don't need express now. We're just adding everything inside the app file now, right? So import app from source app, right? No need this. So let's check now, right? Let's check if that is working perfectly. So refresh this. And I know we don't have that route now, right? So we have a route of 5,000, localhost 5,000, right? Yeah. Localhost 5,000, and you can see this. So because our server, remember we have this env file from port 5,000. So now my root directory, or sorry, root route is localhost 5,000. And when I call that, right, the first thing it will run is get method, and get, because this is get, okay. This slash is the route, that is root route, and then the callback function here, it will run where we sending this object. You have access to that object now, right? So everything looks okay until now. So the next step is making connection with your database, right? Database. So we can go to the MongoDB, right, Atlas, create one project there. You guys have done before. So let's sign in. Where is sign in, right? Just sign in with the Google account. So yeah, so now if you go here, right, I just created earlier, right, this book. I mean, it was from long back. Just I added the book here. Once you have that, right, once you have this, how you create the new, remember, I believe you guys remember, right, to create so new projects, add library or book, whatever, right, then go through that, create a cluster, 3 clusters, then you set up your database, right, password, access password database, make IP 000, so that you have access, right, you can, anyone can, I mean, basically you can access from anywhere. Once you finish that part, right, then you're gonna get the connection string. By clicking on that connection, right, it will give you this link. Okay, so I don't have password, right, so we have to find the password also, guys. So let's say in here, right, I'm gonna store in the, let's call it caps log MongoDB, right, MongoDB connection string. It's big now, right? CONNECTION connection string, like that. Okay, and store here. So I need to find the password for that. All right, so just click done. How I can get, like security section, right? If you go to the database, click and edit here, right, and edit password. Maybe yeah, just click on auto generate, or maybe yeah. So copy that, right? Copy that, and you have to update, okay? Because I just changed the password, so that update that. I will just add here admin whatever password here, right? Fine. So once we have that password, we can even add the database here. After .NET slash database will be, let's call it a library, right? Or bookstore, whatever, just give the name bookstore. Okay, save, right? So this is my string. I'm going to use this letter. So if I'm sure you guys will be able to create the one of the cluster, right, and get the URL with password also. Okay, if anyone has issue, just tell me, or you can look, just watch the MongoDB previous video, right? But that should be fine. I believe you all have done that before. But if any question, just tell me. So the next step is, let's check now. In our config folder, we're gonna add all configuration here, right? Let's call db.typescript. Okay. So we have installed the Mongoose. I think we did, right? Let me check. I think we did, yeah, Mongoose is already installed. So in our db.typescript, here we are creating the database connection string, right? Okay. But remember, we just added the env in the, sorry, the string in the env. So make sure we change here also. Okay. db string something, you just call it anything, right? Equal to, sorry, colon process dot env dot, and we're gonna need that name. database string, right? Fine. So let's go here. We need to import mongoose from mongoose. You're also going to need that config, right? So import config from the let's see, from here, config file, right? From the config. Okay. Next, we're gonna create a function, right? So let's create that function here. See, to make a connection again, we're gonna use function, right? And then we're gonna call that function in our server creation place. Okay. So connect database, right? DB, like that. That's the name of the function. This will be asynchronous now. Why? Because we are dealing with outside world, right? Database. So that's why let's make it asynchronous. When you have asynchronous, how we handle the error, right? By using try catch block, correct? So if there is error, you can console.log error, right? Error. Now in the try, when the success, you handle all that code in the try section, right? So mongoose dot connection. First will be, right? First thing is to make connection. Okay. So let's do that one first. Mongoose dot connect, right? This is the function, and you're gonna call this is async, so await function. You have to call that connection string, right? So that will be config file dot and db string, right? Fine. So it's saying right that string are undefined. Okay, because we know the type, like we have not defined proper type for this value, right? And we are passing some string here. Okay, what is this string, right? This is nothing but this one, this string we are passing, right? So remember, in .env you don't have to put quotation mark to make a string. Okay, it is acceptable, right? It's okay. Even if you put quotation, that will be fine, but I'm saying string and you don't see quotation, don't get confused. env file, no need, right? It's okay. So in that situation, when we know that is a string, right? So we just define it here, like, okay, this is a string, so please don't complain, because TypeScript start complaining, right? Done. That is all we have to do, I think. Yeah, so that is done, right? So I'm just console logging. So why not we do console? There is also function called error, right? And then you can pass that error. Okay. If there is error, then you can exit by calling process dot exit, right? Exit from there. Exit and just pass the status code like 1 or something like that. So now, right, we don't know if it is connected or not. We don't know, right? So how we can figure out if this is connected to our database? See, this will wait for a long time, right? But before that, we can pass something, like we can run some function, right, which is available inside the mongoose. Okay, so we can call it mongoose. Basically these two we can pass. Okay, let's copy that and put it here, right? So just look at here, mongoose.connection. Inside the mongoose object, there is a connection property, and inside that connection there is on, right? On. So mongoose.connection on, again mongoose.connection on, right? But remember, add event listener dot and then you have events, click events, on mouse up, mouse down. Remember that. Same thing here, right? They have different event now. So the event will be connected. There will be, right? If the connection is success, then there will be event called connected. Okay, in that case, you run the function, callback function, and console log like connected to database successfully, right? If the event is error, if it is not connected and you get some error, right, then console log callback function with error value inside the parameter, right? And just display that or console log that error. Okay. So now save this and check now, right? So server is running in port and then 5000. Then just wait for some times. Let's see if we successfully connect to our database or not. Oh, we did not, because remember we have this function, right? You have to export that function. So see that we create a function and we're not using that function anywhere. Nothing happened, right? So export export default and connected to DB, right? Like that. Fine. So let's go to our server here and then we're going to use that. Import that is default, so we can just import like that. And somewhere here, right? So where are we going to use that? Anywhere, does not matter. Let's put it after this port. Connected to DB and run that. Save. Now try, right? Connected to database successfully. Look at that. Okay. So we have connected to our database, this database, right? This book cluster, or what you call that, book database. Yeah. So later, right? Basically, book is the, you have one cluster, right? Or one database you just created for book. Inside later, this is not database, okay? This is just a folder, right? Your database will be later. I mean, let's go back and see, right, what we have right now, because there is no value, we're not gonna see anything. So let's go to the database and browse collection, right? So I mean, there is something called store, there is books, right? This is from before, I believe, not now. So you can delete all that. It will be deleted automatically, right? So let's leave it, not a problem. But later you're going to see something like this, right? Our database name will be, remember what we added here? Bookstore. Look at that, bookstore, right? So that is the name it will add later when we insert any collection, right, or any data. This will be created, and inside that, like inside, right, there will be. So see, store has a books, right? But we're gonna have this one, okay, bookstore, and then inside you're gonna put the all file, the object, okay? So fine, we have done that part. Now let's look at the next thing. The last, like until now we are just preparing, right, to write our API. So we have done some installation in the beginning, then we make connection to our database. The last part is error handling, right? How we gonna handle error, okay? So in the global error handling, basically how we can handle error globally, right? So for that also we're gonna create one folder called middlewares like that, and inside let's create the file called global error handlers, right? So that will be function, okay, nothing but just a function, right? Fine. So this is just a function, right? So let's say I'll just put export const global error handler function, right? error handler equal to, because this is function, okay? So simply like this. What is this? This is just a variable name, right, in which we are storing the function. So this function gonna have 4 properties now, right? Normally we have request, response, and next. but we're gonna have four property, right? Let's call it error, request, response, and the next, right? But they all having error. Now it says declare, basically you define the type for all these, right? Types. Okay, so what are the types? So for error, we're gonna use like one of the library, right? Called HTTP errors handler library. Okay, so let's install that quickly, and then I will come back there. See, even if you don't do all this, right, it's still gonna work. But this is the best, I mean, better practices, right? Which you have to, like use when you're working in the production websites, right, in the future. So just look at, you don't have to worry too much, but if you remember all this, it's okay. If not, still you will be able to write the API, right, which we will do after this, most likely not today but tomorrow, right? So let's finish this part for today. So I installed that. I still need to install the type for that error, HTTP error. So let's install the type. And now, right, you have to import the types for all these props, right? So let's install import that. Import. First, you can request, right? Type request from the express, response, then I think the next function, right? That is the one, I believe. Yeah, next function. You're gonna import again HTTP error type. Yeah, from the HTTP errors, right? And now you assign. Remember, in our type checking, right, you have a variable colon and the type for that. So for error is HTTP error. For request is request, and for response is response. You have to define the type, okay, when you using TypeScript, right? And then you're gonna have the next is the next function, right? Next function. It's just defining the type, okay? Like the number or string or boolean, right? So they, this property also have type, which is we install, right? Every time when you install express, we had like @type/express. So these are coming from the express. This is from the error, right? Fine. So once we have done that one, now, right, we are just writing the function, okay? This function will handle our error, right? And you'll see later in the future. I will show you one example. Const, let's say status code, right? When there is an error, there will be some code, okay? So stored in a variable. So error dot, and now look at here, all this, there is a message, there is the header, name, stack. I just need a status code. If there is no code, then just add 500, something like that, right? Then we're gonna return now the result, right? Whatever result. So return is what? This response res dot, first we're gonna pass status. That will be our status code, right? So send the status, and then also send the message, okay, as a JSON file, right? That is object. And I'm not gonna write all this. Simply this is, right, what we're gonna send. So the thing is, you can get this error, that message I show you earlier, right? Whatever is the message, you can get that from the error object, right? This error object, okay, from here. Okay, the next thing is stack, error stack, right? So what is error stack? Like this is just a name, okay, property name. Same, I put here message, you can add anything here, but error stack, basically, right, you're gonna have lot of error message, lot of server related things, right, inside that stack. So in production, you don't want to display all that, okay? You don't want the server information to display to the client, right? One of the client, you don't want to display that. So that's why in that situation, right, we can come up with some idea, like for example in env file we can say something like let's call it what we can call, I believe, I think node, right? Node underscore environment env equal to, we can add here some value, right? So let's add for development, right? Let's define equal to development, right? So when our system is in development, you can display error. If not, don't display, right? That is I'm trying to do here. Okay. So let me close that in the config. Now we're gonna call it env. Just give anything, does not matter. Process dot env dot what was that name? I believe, yeah, dot env, right? That's or node env. Okay. So we go back here and then add. So that now we have access to this, right? So let's go to our global handler. We need to import a config file, right? And then here config file .env. So config file .env, right, is equal to development. Then you can display the error stack. So look at here, error dot, right, stack is there, this one. Okay, you can display all the details of the error, right, in development. But in production, you know, if that is not development, right, whatever we have inside this config env file, if that is not equal to development, then just keep it empty. Okay, this error stack will be empty. That is all we want to get here, right? So yeah, I think that is all we need to send from here. Now how are we going to use this, right? How are we going to use that this global error handler, right? So let's go back to our let me close now this one. I don't need db, I don't need. Go to app right here and import that. I think what we're gonna do now, right? Let me see. Yeah, so we have express, we have app here, right? Okay, let's import first global error, right, handler. We, we can export like that, or let's do one thing, right? I'm going to export as a default. Okay, I mean that will be also fine, but you can export here default and global error handler. Okay, in that situation we have to import it as a default import, so global error handler like that. Now here, right, what we can do is app dot use is the what is use? The middleware, right? The function which will run before any route. Okay, so we can put that, just you don't have to execute. Okay, just call it, right? So middleware this use will call that function later if there is something wrong, right? Fine. So let's run this code. Npm run dev. Everything looks okay until now. Server also connected, fine, right? So let's, what I'm gonna do, we're gonna throw some error here, right? So new pro new error, this construct, right? Just write here something like a, okay, what are we gonna give, right? Something like a something went wrong, right? Wrong in server, something like that. Okay, save. uh, that's okay, but what we can do, right, we throw the error, but it did not execute this, correct? Here we're not gonna get that, right? So let's try now localhost and try to access this, right, this route. And look at here, something went wrong in server error stack. You get all these details, right, of your error. Okay, so see, our global error handler function is running, and this is the middleware, right? So it's running perfectly fine. So if there will be any error, you're gonna get message like this, right, in the development. Also, you can, like, remember we have the library, right? Import, I don't know what was the function name, right? Let's see. I just don't remember, guys. I think I just don't remember. Let's see. What was that? HTTP error, right? So it has the function, okay, like create error, right? Something you can create, create error. You can create error also, right? And then throw that error, okay? So here you can, I mean, you can do that, but right now we don't have to do that. Let's leave it. No need to do that. You get the idea, okay? You can import, basically you can import that create CRE8 create error, right? Create HTTP error like that. Just get from here, and then const error equal to create HTTP error, and then you can pass like 4001 status, and this is the new error message, right? And then throw that this error. You can do that also. So I will comment that out for now. Save. So let's check one more time. Refresh this page, and this is the new error. Look at here, right? See? So this is also one way to create error, but this is for testing purpose only, right? To make sure this function is perfectly working. Okay, fine, guys. So let's delete all this. We will stop here for today, right? I will post the code. I mean, let me just, why I'm deleting, let's leave it like that, for now, right? Save this. So tomorrow now, right, we're going to start the real work now, creating API. These are the just basic setups we have done until now. Okay, so in the source folder, let's say we're going to work on the user, right? For example, user. Okay, so you're going to create the users, maybe folder like that, and then you're going to have routes, you're going to have controllers function, user routes, user controllers. Later you're going to have the, like the library API. So we'll see, right? So let's do one by one. But these are just basic setups. Just go through the video, try to create all these things one time, right? It's okay. You don't have to remember, but just get some idea, right? Thank you very much, and we will continue. We'll just continue with this tomorrow. Right? I will put the video and all online right now.